Hello and welcome back to The Movies Made Us Do It. Me and Matt are back. How are you doing, Matt?
I'm really good to say yourself.
I am very, very well, yes. Very well. I really enjoyed our Dracula chat last week. Good fun. Always nice to revisit, you know. This is the thing with our movie chats, they're always good movies because we pick only good movies, so it's good fun. But yeah, Dracula, incredible
I suppose the
film.
idea of picking something shit would be a bit, you know...
I'm not, you know...
You'd have to find something to talk about, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and you know, despite how often, you know, that does happen on this show, you know, we end up talking about negative things. I'd much rather focus on positivity, you know? It'd be so easy. It'd be so easy for us to pick crap films and just be like, look at this shit. But you know, unfortunately, we watch films that we don't like. We're going to say we don't like them, and we've got to review them. But I do like, you know, when we do our movie watching, I like it that we discuss positive films and good films and happy things.
Yeah.
Why punish ourselves? Especially because it's all movies we've seen before.
Anyway.
Exactly, there is enough of that going around. But yes, so Dracula was fun, and then this week we are going to be doing our usual show, talking about movies we've seen in the week. Yeah. And I have seen 2 films this week.
Brilliant. And
one of them, I think. One of them, I will say, absolutely blew me away and absolutely exceeded my expectations.
Okay.
Unbelievably for me. And another film, frustrating, but had moments, but found it frustrating overall. But there is something in it, you know. Neither of these films are utterly terrible. That's what I will say.
Right, that's fair enough.
So, do you want to go first? What have you watched?
So I'll start with Sightless.
Sightless. Okay, I nearly watched this. So is this the film a girl that's blind or mostly blind, following some kind of accident, and then she starts seeing things, maybe ghosts?
Well, she actually gets attacked.
Okay.
So it's directed by Carl Cooper, who I'm not sure what was previously done. I think this might be his first major movie.
The name sounds slightly familiar, but then it's quite a common name, isn't it? Like Carl and Cooper are 2 names. Yeah, okay. You know.
And it stars Madeline Petch, Alan Alexander Koch, who I think are both in what's that bloody series called? Archie. They're in the Archie series. Riverdale.
Yeah.
They're both in the Riverdale side, so it's like, okay, that sort of tells you something, but you know.
Sure, I've not watched that show. I know people that like it, but I have not watched it.
The thing is I quite like the old Archie comics, when I was a kid, and I know they got quite adult later on.
They did
in recent years. They and in some cases quite weird. So I sort of gave it a go, and I watched a few episodes, and this is just annoying the crap out of me. So I stopped. So this is about Ellen, who is she's got she seems to have an interesting past. So she was you find out over the course of the movie that she was a violinist,
right?
Who basically got in with a husband who's now her ex-husband, who ripped off one of her friends,
right? And
now she's basically all of her other friends except for one, the girl she ripped off, abandoned her,
right?
And at the very beginning, while she's basically, I think, leaving her car or walking along, someone sprays something in her face and attacks her. Where she wakes up in a hospital, and the doctor tells her that basically her eyeballs have been, the retinas have been fried, and she's now blind. She's not going to see again. So she talks to a detective who talks about her past and her husband, and you know whether her husband has any enemies or one of the. But
it's a PI or
yes. Right. So apparently her husband is in jail for ripping off this girl, and she's her brother is in Japan working,
right?
And I don't think they have a great relationship, but
so she's got a lot of enemies, effectively. No one's a big fan of her.
Yeah, so they kind of set her up as kind of that she's pretty much on her own, and she sort of speaks to her. She gets hold, somehow manages to sort of get hold of her brother. Her brother sort of talks to her, and then she sort of wakes up in a flat.
Right.
She doesn't remember getting in the flat, but they took her there while she was, unconscious at one point. And basically, this guy comes in and he says he's her nurse. He'll come in like every sort of day or so, and sort of he'll see to her food and things, make sure she's getting on all right, and he explains where things are, tells her all this sort of stuff. And over the sort of period of the movie, she hears sort of fighting in the next room, in the next door neighbors. And what I do like about this is I don't think they lean into it enough. I think they could have done it a little bit more. But it's quite a nice sort of clever idea. So at one point, the nurse brings in a cage with a canary in, and the canary it's a little green canary, and he puts it down. And he's talking about his past and his mother and how his mother used to make bird cages and stuff. And she asks him what color the budgie is, and he says, does it matter what color that it is? And she says, well, I'd like to know. And he sort of glosses over it and doesn't say anything. And you see the bird sort of flying around this cage, and then he says, oh, by the way, the bird is blue. And the bird in the cage immediately changes blue.
Okay, so we're seeing what she thinks is in the room. Yes. Is that what we're doing? That's interesting. Exactly that's an interesting idea. There's
another scene later on where she's talking to the neighbor, the lady that lives next door, who it seems is getting abused by her husband, and she sort of imagines her this way, and at one point she touches her face.
Right.
And when she touches her face, this scar, stitched scar appears on the side of her face, because she's
now aware that's there.
Yeah. And I think that it's quite a nice idea.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, and I think they do. I think if they would have leaned into it a little more, it would have probably been a bit better. So basically, over the sort of, the course of this movie, it's a case of...
This is not the film I thought it was, by the way.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure. I was looking for a film yesterday, and I came across a horror film with a girl that's can't see, she's blind, and she's maybe seeing ghosts or maybe seeing something. It reminded me very much of The Eye and like Sixth Sense kind of thing. I
really like The Eye. I think The Eye.
I love The Eye. The original. I've not seen the remake. It's been remade.
I've seen both. It's the original's okay. The remake's okay, but the original's better.
Yeah. So I thought it was that, but this is totally different. So I'm completely intrigued. I really like this idea of you seeing what she believes is the truth, and then having that truth change as she becomes aware of things. I like that. That's really interesting.
Yeah, so and there are things that she keeps noticing, like there's a balcony. When she opens the balcony, the wind blasts in, and she can hear the traffic below, but then she keeps hearing the same alarm go off.
Right.
So she starts getting sort of a bit suspicious about why can she still hear the same alarm. And I think where this is going. This is the problem. I think the problem this has is
the problem is we've watched too many films, Matt.
I think that's also the case. But I think even if you hadn't seen stuff like this before,
it's just telegraphed.
There's a lot of stuff that you think, okay, this is just dodgy as fuck. There's no way.
I mean, why have they moved you into a flat in the first place? That's kind of weird. Or you were unconscious, and it's like, that's not really normal. You're normally consulted and told that you're getting moved somewhere. You don't just get moved. You just wake up in a new place and like, oh yeah, by the way, we've moved you somewhere.
There are a number of things that you sort of think, well, surely you would have
questioned
that earlier.
Yeah.
You can put it down to the fact that, okay, she's blind now and she's completely disorientated and she's just scared.
Funny enough, I had a conversation with a friend yesterday after I watched a film, which I'll come to in a minute. And we were talking about stupid characters and people making stupid decisions and doing stupid things. And it does occur to me, quite often we're like, oh my God, this character's so stupid. They did such stupid things. But then you think, people do make stupid decisions under pressure.
Absolutely.
And
people make stupid decisions all the time.
Yeah, and under stress. So yeah, to an extent, you're kind of like, why wouldn't you question that? Why wouldn't? But then it's like, well, she's just lost one of her senses.
Yep.
She's confused. She's being looked after. They're not abusing her in this new place, as far as she can tell to begin with, at least, I guess.
Yeah.
So maybe I don't know.
So the performances are pretty good. They're not too bad. The overall sort of storyline is, there's some questionable elements. You just sort of think, okay, fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you sort of go with it, it's not a bad movie. It's there are a lot of things like it. It's not original, but like we keep saying, what is? But I think for the most part, I quite enjoyed it. It's
I like the overall premise. Sounds interesting. Certainly sounds like it's worth a watch anyway.
And the sort of the sight that the sort of the perception thing was quite a nice little idea. I quite like the whole idea of things change when she realizes what they actually are. I mean,
I think you could make an entire film around that premise alone. To be honest. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I think they would have been better if they leaned into that a little bit more. I think it would have probably benefited from that. But I mean, it's kind of set in like 2 rooms, and it's
sure
like basically a couple of actors.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the budget for this must have been minuscule.
Yeah, or it was filmed in 2020.
Yeah, or it was
one
filmed
or the other.
in 2020. Yeah, but having said that, if it's a pretty enjoyable little watch. I quite enjoyed it.
It sounds good.
Not brilliant, but yeah, it was all right. It was okay.
And it's called Sightless.
It's called Sightless, yeah, and it's on Netflix.
Great. I'm not sure what film to go with next. I guess I'll go with the one that was frustrating.
Okay.
I don't think it's terrible. And in fact, in some ways, it's kind of interesting. So I don't know if you've seen it. You might have. I have a horrible feeling you've reviewed this. I was thinking that yesterday. But I watched Unhinged. Yes, from 2020. Directed by Derek Borte or Derek Bort. Russell Crowe.
Yes, no, I have not seen this.
Right.
I've been wanting to see
this.
Yes,
so like you, I'd seen the trailer, and I've seen the trailer around for a long time, and I was initially intrigued by the trailer alone, because I thought it looked good.
Sorry, I just made me laugh then. I just typed in Unhinged to look at the thing. There are about 5 movies called Unhinged.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm sure it's a very, very common name for a film. But specifically, this is the film about a young woman played by Karen Pistorius. And she's having a bad day. She, a lot of things are going wrong in her life. She's got an estranged husband, or separated anyway, and she's just lost a client because she's running late, and she's late taking the kid to school. Her kid, who's played by Gabriel Bateman, I think. So kid's running late for school, and he's going to get detention because, this is, 3 times in a row he's been late recently. Because of her, she overslept, and she even says in the car, she's like, yeah, I overslept. And it's kind of why she's lost her client, because they run into massive heavy traffic because, she left the house so late. So she's having a bad day. And she comes up to a load of traffic, and they're trying to find a way around this traffic to desperately get to school on time. And they decide to take a shortcut, and on this shortcut they come across this vehicle that's parked in front of a green light, or it's red then it goes green. She honks her horn, doesn't move, and she continues honking her horn until he does move, but then the driver, played by Russell Crowe, catches up with her and basically demands an apology, which she doesn't give. And then he basically says, I'm going to show you what a bad day is like. I'm going to show you what a bad day is really like. And as a premise, I like this. So effectively, the movie is just Russell Crowe is horrendous and unlikable, previously scarred, presumably from something. I mean, the opening of the movie actually makes it absolutely clear that this man is irredeemably horrible. Like immediately in the opening, there is like no question. In some ways, I think that would have been better as well if we didn't see that, because the film kind of immediately is like, no, this person is horrible. Villain. And that's fine, because he is irredeemably horrible throughout the film, but I just think it probably would have served the film a little better if they'd waited. Basically, I mean, the film opens with him going in and murdering 2 people and setting fire to a house, presumably his wife, maybe. I'm not sure. But he is like horrible. He's horrible from the outset, and I think it would have been a little better if they hadn't had that scene. But in any case, so the concept of the film is that Russell Crowe's unhinged person, he's been sacked from his job, I think he says at one point, and his wife's left him, and he makes up a story, but we never really know if it's the truth or not. He is determined to ruin this woman's day, and he basically follows them. He rams into the back of their car. There's some great scenes in this movie, actually. Some really tense scenes, like when they're in traffic and she tries to get away from him because he's following her, and they get stopped by the traffic again, and they're completely gridlocked, and he's just ramming into the back of her car, but not so fast that they'd hit anything else. He just keeps like ramming into the back of the car constantly. It's a really tense scene, and there's some really great moments where she drops the kid off at school thinking it's kind of over and they've gotten away from him, and she pulls into a petrol station and then sees that he's there in the petrol station, and it basically continues on like this. So I like the concept. I think the performances are superb. Russell Crowe, he looks very unhealthy in this film. Assuming he gained the weight for the film, I don't know. But his performance is tremendous. He's really he is so thoroughly unlikable in this film.
I've seen the clip where he's with the woman's husband in the diner.
In the diner, yeah.
That is a great scene.
He is tremendous in this film, and he really does carry the film.
I think the thing is it's easy to see Russell Crowe as a villain. I mean, it's quite easy to be scared of Russell Crowe because he's a big burly guy, and he's got a fucking temper.
Yes,
so it's quite easy to be scared of Russell Crowe.
And this film really does play into that. The problems with this film, I'd say, first of all, probably a nitpick, but Karen Pistorius, who's a great actress, the character she's playing in this, I found quite unlikable. To where I was kind of like, obviously nothing justifies what this man does. Yeah. And also
underneath you're going, this woman clearly needs a fucking shake-up.
A little bit, yeah. Not to the extent that she gets here. But also, the scene, right, and I'm assuming in this narrative, it would have made no difference what she said. But Russell Crowe's character pulls up, and he's like, wind your windows down, son. And the kid winds the windows down, and she's like, don't wind the windows down. But then he's done it. It's too late. And he's talking to the kid and to her. And he apologizes. He was like, she's like, oh, he was like, I assume you meant to give me like a polite beep. It was quite an angry beep you gave me. And she's like, well, you weren't moving. And he's like, well, I fully admit I was a bit lost there. I was a bit kind of, a bit out of it, a bit confused. I've had a bad day. So, sorry. I apologize for that. And then he says, if you'll apologize, we can just move on. And she's just like, no, fuck you. Like, I've got nothing to apologize for you for. Like, you're a dick, and it's like, wouldn't you have just said sorry just to be like, come on? Like, let's just say sorry and get out of this scary situation, move away from this man, diffuse and move on. But she exacerbates the situation by just being really, really short, sharp, and really nasty to him, even though he's quite clearly a bit scary. And it's things like that where I'm like, oh, it's certain tweaks to scenes that I think would have worked a lot better. Like if she had apologized to him and then he just kept doing it anyway and just kept going on. Because it's very clear that this man is deranged.
Yeah.
And the other problem with this film, and it's not a game breaker, if you just let yourself, like your previous movie, like Sightless, if you just let yourself go with it, it's fine. Yeah. But the problem is, this film doesn't work in this. This film wants to be The Hitcher or Duel, right?
Right, okay, good luck.
Well, the thing is, those movies work because they're set in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's very easy to get away with a lot of things in the middle of nowhere. This film, unfortunately, I think it ramps itself up way too fast to where, like, in the first 30 minutes, I was like, you will have been arrested by now. There's such a thing as helicopters. Like, you're fucked. And you're, like, morbidly obese and you're like, they would have caught him by now. Because, he's running over people. He's murdering people. It kind of ramps up too fast. I think if they'd left a lot of the more extreme things until the very end of the film, it would have probably been a bit more realistic.
Okay.
But there are some great moments in this film. Some great performances. In the gas station, he swaps his phone for her phone. And he's also hidden. They've got a tablet, which he hides under her seat. He tapes it to the bottom of her seat. So he's tracking her using like that, where's my tablet thing.
Find me out. Yeah.
So all of that is quite good. And it trundles along quite nicely. It's just... the problem is, I think it ramps up too fast to where it's ridiculous that this man gets away with what he gets away with for as long as he does. And then towards the end of the film, the only reason that Russell Crowe is able to terrorize this kid and his mum is because they're just making really dumb mistakes. There was a scene in particular where the very end of the film, they pull into a street and they go into a house. And they're inside this house and they've lost him and he's trying to find them. He's driving around this little cul-de-sac area looking for them. They're in the house and the kid's gone and found an alarm, which is going to tell the cops that there's a break-in at this house. And all they would have needed to do was just hide in that house and he never would have found them. But instead of that, she goes out to try and take him down. She goes out to try and do something, and it's like, well, if you just waited there, you could have waited there until the police came, hidden in the loft. He never would have found you. Would have been fine. There's a few moments like that in the film where it's like, I'm not sure, and like I said, it does ramp things up a little too much. But the reason I find it frustrating is because there's some really good stuff in this film. Some really good moments in this film.
Okay.
It's just that I don't think you can get away with someone being this crazy in the middle of a city the way that he is. Right. He's taking out cop cars, he's doing all sorts, and you're like, really? Is he really going to get away with this?
Got you.
And the other thing is, is that unfortunately the main protagonist is slightly unlikable. You do sympathize with her.
That seems to be a theme lately in a lot of these films. The main protagonist is quite unlikable, and it's like, well, give me something to root for here.
Yeah, I mean, to root for the kid. The kid's obviously perfectly innocent, done nothing wrong.
Well, yeah, okay, that's good.
And of course, I do root for her because Russell Crowe's character is so
it's so horrible, yeah.
But at the same time, it is like, I'm not really... I don't really like this character, so I'm finding it hard to care too much. Outside of, it's horrific what's happening, but... frustrating, but certainly worth a watch if you can get hold of it cheaply, or when it comes to free streaming. It's worth a watch for the performances alone, because everyone in this film, the performances are tremendous, really good.
You haven't put me off of it,
no,
so that's good.
It's got some really good scenes. It's got some really tense scenes, and it's
the one thing you
nice
have made
idea.
me want to do is watch The Hitcher again, but
watch the original of that. Don't watch the remake of The Hitcher.
The Rutger Hauer one.
Rutger Hauer's Hitchers. That film is like. It's so silly. It's so over the top and crazy. I love it though. It's unashamedly silly, that film.
Yeah, he's terrifying in it.
Oh, he is. Yeah, but I mean, like,
remember him being terrifying.
In terms of how over the top that film gets, Yeah.
Because
you see the trailers and you don't necessarily realize how over the top that film is, and it's like, oh no, it is quite ridiculous in places.
I mean, the thing about that movie is near the end.
Oh yes, that's scary.
I
as hell.
actually sat there when I first watched that movie. I sat there and went, "No, he can't have done that. There's no way he really did that. No, that's not right. No, she's fine." It's like, oh fuck, no, she is not fine.
No, she's not fine. No.
Yeah, I like that movie. It's a good movie.
It's a great movie, well worth a watch. And Jewel, if you've never watched Jewel, watch
Oh,
Jewel.
Jewel is fantastic as well, yeah.
But as I said, those films I think work better because they're in the middle of nowhere. And if this film was set in the middle of nowhere, it would have worked a lot better. But then they couldn't have done a lot of what they did with this film, which I don't want to go into for spoilers. So
yeah, I guess maybe that was what they were trying to do, is sort of set it apart from sort of Jewel Hitcher. And
it reminds me of like Jewel Hitcher with a bit of falling down, except like in this, like he is thoroughly unlikable, whereas in Falling Down, until the very end, you're like, yeah, I kind of like this guy. You know, I kind of agree with a lot of what this guy's doing. Or not what he's doing, but I agree with his points. This man is just mental and pretty horrendous. So yes, Unhinged, frustrating watch, but certainly had its good moments and some wonderful performances.
Okay.
So what else have you watched?
I have seen Saint Maud.
Oh, I really want to see Saint Maud. I'm saving it for my fiance. We wanted to see this in the cinema. We were kind of
so did
gutted when the cinemas closed and we couldn't do it. So
I really regret not seeing it in the cinema.
There was a very narrow window, wasn't there, to see it?
Yeah,
and we didn't take it, and we were regretting it as well. We kind of hoped it would immediately turn up on VOD, and it didn't. We were waiting for ages.
I have hired it. It's still a higher one at the moment.
It looks
probably won't take long for it to be on.
No, you know. It looks really good. I'm really excited about this one. So, how did you find Saint Maud?
It's directed by Rose Glass, and I think this is her first major film. It stars Mortiff Clark and Jennifer Ely, and it is about Maud, who is at the beginning. You see that something has clearly gone wrong. She is a nurse she failed to save someone, and it basically suggests that she had a breakdown
because of that, or before
that. Because of that.
Right, okay, yeah.
And now she is a palliative care nurse, and she has a new client in Jennifer Ely's Amanda, and she basically goes to live in this Amanda's like big house. Amanda was a famous dancer. She was this sort of classic dancer, and now she's basically got cancer and she's dying, and she's this obviously sort of rich woman who's clearly had her own way for a long time, and she's a bit of a bitch.
Okay.
And there is a great line when Maud turns up to the house, and she says to the nurse that's there, "So what's she like?" And the woman says, "Bit of a cunt."
I mean, it's quite common as well with people getting older, people losing their memory, people that have a disability. It will ultimately be very frustrating, and you're not going to be the nicest person necessarily for a while. And certainly I've seen that in family members that dementia or whatever. It does bring out the worst in a lot of cases, unfortunately. I did read somewhere as well that when you've got things like dementia and stuff, like negative thoughts stay in your mind easier.
She doesn't have dementia.
She doesn't.
Cancer.
Oh, cancer. Sorry,
it's cancer. Yeah,
cancer. Well, I mean that's going to piss you off as well, to be honest.
Yeah, of course it is.
Especially, presumably, she was a dancer. You said as well, so she's
and she no longer is able to walk. She's in a wheelchair, and she's. It looks like she's deteriorating quite rapidly.
Right. So very frustrated and bitter.
Yes.
Okay.
So Maud has had a recent conversion. She now believes that God has saved her for a purpose, and she's unhappy doing what she's doing, but she thinks if she holds in there, God will show her what she needs to do.
There is a path somewhere.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So and she's actually got quite a dark. There's a dark sense of humor going through her. You hear her internal monologue when she's like talking to God, sort of thing, and it's actually quite bleakly funny. But it's
right.
Yeah. There's some sort of like interesting things she says to God. And within a short period, she basically decides that her mission is to save Amanda's soul. She needs to make sure that she is, cleansed, and she needs to make sure she's prepared for the way ahead.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
And meanwhile,
see this so far, because if you don't know this film, because I've seen the trailer for this film and I've been following this film for a while. So far, this sounds like a sweet film about a woman who comes and tries to care for this old lady and gives her some happiness and joy at the end of her life.
Yeah, well.
However,
it's I mean, we are talking. It is a horror. It
is a horror film. Yes,
it's a psychological horror. So. She does a lot of things. She does a lot of mortifying. She sort of scratches herself. She burns herself.
Right.
She does sort of, things to herself that in a basically trying to get God to talk to her.
Mm-hmm.
And Amanda is sort of sneery at her, and she's sort of like, doesn't really believe in all that sort of stuff, but. I think she's sort of intrigued by her. I think there is a part of her that kind of envies her faith, if you like.
Sure.
I think she because she clearly has none, but and she knows she's dying. So,
and I guess at that point you might be like, well, I wish I could believe in that. I can't, but I wish I could.
Yeah.
I've had that a couple of times in my life where I've just been like, oh, I wish I did believe in that. I don't, and I can't. Yeah. You can't just make yourself believe in something. But I can appreciate that. So yeah.
So basically, there's a lot of sort of is she really mentally ill, or is God actually talking to her? And you don't find out completely what happened to her, but you do find out a few things that make sense and make you realize what's going on with her. But it's mostly about a very sort of it's mostly about a very lonely girl who has kind of seeking answers elsewhere that is trying to find some sort of order and direction in her life. And there are some really, the imagery is amazing. There are some beautiful when she has sort of ecstasy, when she does something good, or when something happens, and she sees sort of signs. She does see these signs. Whether or not she's actually seeing the signs or not, you're not sure. But they're some of them are really beautiful and well done. And there are sort of things, when she spirals out in some parts, and there's the tension is really, really well done. And this, for her first movie, it's a brilliant first movie for this. First class. And Morpeth Clark is absolutely phenomenal. She is truly, truly brilliant. She's playing Galadriel in the upcoming Lord of the Rings series.
Oh, cool! One to look out for then.
I've seen her in a few other things. She's been in a few bits and pieces that I've seen before, and she's a really great actor. And Jennifer Ealey's always fantastic. And it obviously it sort of heads towards a sort of a confrontation towards the end, but I'm not going to spoil any of that. I would just say it's beautiful. It's got lots of sort of great, sort of iconic sort of William Blake imagery and stuff like that. It's great. It's really, really, really good. It's not going to be for everybody. It's a very slow burner, and it does rely on you, wanting to be with this character. Because it's not that she's unlikable, but she's, she is clearly a damaged woman, and I think if anything, you hope.
Okay, so she was in the Dracula TV series that we watched.
She played Mina, yeah.
His Dark Materials. Mm-hmm. And Crawl, which I still haven't watched. I kind of wanted to watch Crawl.
Yes.
Okay, so she's been in a few things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly I can't recommend it enough. I think
I'm glad, like I said, man. I'm really glad.
It's not going to be for everybody, and it's
right up my street. I think basically, it's exactly what what you're saying is exactly what I hoped from it.
And it's got that sort of, it leans more towards the sort of horror of something like The Exorcist, or that sort of not quite as full on as The Exorcist, but it leans up to do with like religious themes and religious imagery and mental illness and stuff like that. I really enjoyed it. I think it's a great movie. I would say, pay for it if you want to hire it, if you want to.
To be honest, it's one of those movies that I've seen is now available physically, and I have been umming and ahhing about actually just buying it outright and just being like, I'll just own it, because I'm pretty confident that me and my fiance are going to want to watch this again and continue to watch it.
Yeah, it's completely worth it. I will definitely watch it again.
Okay, yeah, I'm glad. I'm really glad. I'm looking forward to St. Maud, so we may actually watch that this weekend potentially.
Cool.
But yeah, who knows? Looks very good. So, a film which, honestly, I'd heard good things about, and I saw the trailer. Thought the trailer looked okay, but I'd heard very good things, and I was like,
it looked okay.
Well, yeah, the trailer looked fine.
Okay.
But I'd heard some buzz, and I was like, this sounds really good. And I've wanted a really good film like this for a long time. And it's out today on Amazon Prime, but I didn't want to wait until today, so it was acquired. But I do, I will be watching it again because it's that good, and I do have a Prime subscription, so
okay.
It was acquired for me, and that is Greenland.
I've seen Greenland.
Yes, let's talk about Greenland.
It came out yesterday.
Oh, did it?
I watched it last night.
I watched it earlier in the week. I had a copy provided to me. It was given to me, so I was lucky enough to watch it slightly early because it's been out in the States for a while now. But I really wanted to watch it and review it for this show. And
weirdly, I actually saw the trailer and thought, well, I don't really want to watch that. But it came out yesterday, and I thought, you know what, I am going to watch that. There was another movie I was going to watch, and I thought, no, I'm going to watch this because if nothing else, it'll have some nice destruction to watch.
Sure. So I'd heard some pretty good positive things about this film, and I must say it far exceeded my expectations. I really liked this film. I don't know about you.
I did, actually. Yes.
I thought this was probably one of the best comet destroying the Earth movies I've seen.
It was honestly, it was a genuine surprise.
It was a genuine surprise to me, even after hearing some pretty positive buzz online. I was shocked at how good this was. So it's directed by Rick Roman. Who's done he's done loads of movies in the past, but not movies you would think would end up making a film like this. Films like Last Action Hero.
Has fallen. He's got priors with Gerard Butler then.
Yeah, and he used to be a stuntman, I think, or a stunt coordinator, because he's got Tango and Cash and Last Action Hero and things in his credits, but as stunts. And then, so he's done a lot with Gerard Butler, and this is a film with Gerard Butler in it. I've enjoyed those Fallen movies. They're stupid.
I've seen the first one, and I haven't bothered with the others.
They're just brainless action.
Yeah.
This is not. This film, I honestly think, is one of the best comet hitting the Earth movies.
Certainly one of the better ones, yeah.
I was really hopeful back in the day for Deep Impact, and that didn't quite work for me. It had its moments.
Yeah.
It didn't quite work. Obviously, Armageddon is trash.
I caught Deep Impact.
I rewatched it. I rewatched it about 2 months ago, and I was like, it's all right, actually. It's okay.
I'd forgotten most of that movie, and I'd forgotten that the amount of people that are in it. It's like, oh my god, it's got Richard Schiff in it.
Do you know? Funny enough,
wow.
The only bit that really stuck in my mind of that movie was the kid on the bike at the end. That's the only bit that really stuck in my mind. It's okay. It's
Tia Leone. I just remembered that Tia Leone was in it, and is it Morgan Freeman plays the president?
He plays the president.
That's kind of all I remembered about the
movie. I think he stays and dies in the White House, and it's all right. It's just. I think the thing is
that it came out roughly the same time as Armageddon, didn't it? And Armageddon, despite the fact that it's a terrible movie, is way more enjoyable.
It's complete schlock, but it's very entertaining. Yeah. It's the film that has the the one of the best lines, best bad lines in cinema history, in my opinion. With the he's got space dementia. One of the best lines. I mean, that may be a thing. If that's a thing, please correct me and tell me if space dementia's a thing. Is
that when Steve Buscemi's just shooting everything with that gun?
Because they took them up with a Gatling gun, laser Gatling guns, and he starts shooting everything. And one of the guys grabs his buddy and he's like, he's got space dementia. And I'm like, what? Space dementia? What is space dementia? Brilliant. Space dementia. So like normal dementia that, you know, kind of makes you lose your memory and lose your faculties. Space dementia just makes you a violent prick, apparently. It just starts making you shoot things. Yeah, it's schlock, but it is very entertaining, and I like the overall idea of Armageddon. I like this, like, you're taking the blue collar, you know, oil workers and all of that humor. The best part
points out is like, surely it would be easier to train.
Yes, of course it would.
Astronauts to use a drill than you to train drillers to be an astronaut.
Yeah, obviously. But then we wouldn't have this entertaining schlock.
Of course not.
And the best part of that movie, honestly, that movie is crap once they're in space. The best part of that movie is when they're training the blue collar guys. That stuff is hilarious. That stuff's really, really funny. Once they get into space, whatever. But yeah, that was the schlocky one, and then we had Deep Impact that was the more scientific one. Neither really did it for me as one of these movies. No. Entertaining as they both were. This film does do it for me. This film has got a tremendous cast. I think Gerard Butler is fantastic in this film.
I haven't seen Gerard Butler be this good for a while.
It's been a while. I was thinking the same, actually. He seems like he really cares about this role, and he's really giving it his all.
He genuinely looks like he's putting like full effort into this movie. Because I've seen the last couple of movies I've seen with Gerard Butler, he just looks like he's running
all the time.
You know. Yeah, he's just running through the motions, really.
I agree, and he
Morena really, Baccarin again,
wonderful performance.
She tends to not have, you know, the biggest, the greatest parts, but she's really good in this. Actually,
she is tremendous in this film. There are some scenes where her acting really got me. The scene where her son, played by Roger Del Floyd, is taken. Wonderful performance.
Absolutely. Yeah, that completely had me on the edge of my seat. That
wonderful.
It was like, oh my god, what the fuck is she going to do now?
Yeah, it's an amazing scene and an incredible performance by her. I mean, when she's just stood there in the road afterwards, just like screaming and just like, oh my god, like.
The best thing about this movie is the fact that it's not about the actual spectacle. It's
a family story.
It's a family story, which for some people is not what they'll want to see in a disaster movie.
I think it's the only way to tell a story like this. They're telling it on the ground. They're telling it at ground level. We don't see what the military are doing. Well, we see through the characters that we're introduced to through Gerard Butler and Morena. We see the military through their eyes, but we don't know what the plan is. We don't go to the White House and see what the president's doing and the top scientists.
There's no angle from almost anybody else. It's just them, and you know, because they get split up. It's what happens to how they, you know, try and make effort to try and find each other.
Yeah.
And I will admit there were a number of things that made me go, oh, for fuck's sake. The fact that they're divorced, the fact that their son has got a condition was like, oh, come on, really? Do we have to do this?
Well, I actually really liked the son having diabetes. I thought was actually really good for this film. It was an interesting plot point in the movie.
What happens? Yeah, exactly. I think that in normal circumstances, it would be just one of those things that's there that they can play with.
Do you know the thing that hit me?
It was an actual proper plot point.
It was very it was integral to the plot, and I think it was really well used in this film. I was also pleased that it was diabetes. Which never diabetes, is always asthma, right, or something like that. It's like, oh, it's diabetes. He's got diabetes. Okay, fair enough. And I liked the part that played in the plot. I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
Does raise some questions as to how he's going to survive later, but never mind.
Well, I think but that's the point, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I guess it is. I guess it is.
And you know, they like I said, this could. when that happened, when that, you sort of you find out about his infidelity and his family situation, it did start alarm bells ringing, and I thought, oh my god, this is going to be the most cringe.
But it doesn't go
shit
there at all.
It doesn't. It's really
it's mentioned
so well done
brought up.
that this family, even though they've sort of fallen apart a bit, they still love each other. They're still,
and at the end of the movie, she says to him, like, I was just as much to blame for this. He's like, I was the one that did this, but she's like, well, I did, I drove you away. I did, I've played my part in this.
I was thinking, oh, for fuck's sake, deadbeat dad, great, wonderful. There's another,
sure.
But it doesn't really play on that. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't. And it shows. It shows this horrific disaster bringing them back together and showing and expressing their true feelings for each other, and I thought,
and some horrible. I mean, like
again, leaving their street.
Very much. Yes, that's what I was just going to say. The scene where they get the message that his family's been this message saying the president says get to this this plane in this military plane.
He's a structural engineer, so they
just take you and your wife and your kid,
and no exceptions.
Little as little possessions as possible, and just get there. And of course, they're at a barbecue, and
they have a barbecue at their house.
All his friends, none of them have got a call.
No.
They're all like, "What the fuck's going on? Why have you got the fucking call? Why aren't we getting it?"
And then, of course, while they're having,
when they're driving out, and that woman is trying to get them to just take my daughter, it's like, that is fucking heartbreaking.
It's horrendous. And
she says, what happens if we take her and we get there and they say no, she can't, and she has to stay there on her own.
Yeah. And the performances in that scene, Roger Del Floyd, the kid, amazing in that scene when he's crying for his friend who can't come with them. And Morena, like, her performance, they're all the performances in this film are stunning. The whole cast. Really is, and it really shows the swift breakdown of society. It shows the worst of humanity, shows some of the best of humanity in places.
That's one of the things that I did like, actually. There were some moments where some people genuinely help them and stop, and those bits are like, oh god, at least there are.
We're not making out that everyone's become a villain. Yeah. And
there is, I do like there's a bit where he climbs up to the car park to get a signal on his phone. Yeah. And there's just a bunch of people having a party. It's like, fuck it.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
a bunch of people going, we're all going to fucking die. We might as well get pissed and have a good time while it's happening.
I mean, that is one of those events that, like, you're not surviving this. So you're just not. So make the most of it, because this is one you're definite. There's no question as to whether you're going to survive this one. You're done, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I really liked that. Yeah.
It's nicely done, and there were a couple of times where there were sort of odd decisions where it's like, why wouldn't you just do that? Sort of thing,
and it's rather they're very lucky, I will say that, in what they managed to do in the film, the journey they go on. But I think for the most part, I thought the plot was really solid, and I think the performances really endeared me to all three of the leads. I was really wanted them all to succeed, all of them.
Yeah.
Including Gerard Butler, who sometimes I can be a bit like, But here, he was great. Like you said, I think he clearly cared about this project. Really did. Really, really a tremendous film.
I honestly think this is the best I've ever seen Morena Baccarin. I think she's very good in roles that she's normally cast in, but she is cast to type, and she's cast to play that role. Here, this was completely out of her comfort zone from what I've seen of her career. Yeah, and she's amazing in this. She's really, really good. I'd agree. This is her best performance that I've seen to date. Yeah. And I mean, I think she's great as Inara, but
I think she's great as Inara. I really liked her in the V remake as well. I thought she was great in that. I think she's fine in Deadpool.
She was actually one of the only good things in that.
She was, she really was. She really was one of the only good things in that series.
And she is great in Deadpool as well.
Yeah. Yeah, watch the original V series. Don't watch the remake. The remake is awful. But
weirdly, I've Sci-Fi Channel are showing it at the moment, and I've been catching bits and pieces of it every now and again. Great. And it's a bit ropey in places, but I think overall it sort of stands up.
It depends. Yeah, it is ropey in places. It depends
if you're willing to go with it, and you're willing to take note that it's the 80s. Okay.
Yes. Now I would say as well that the mini series is far superior to the actual series.
It's fantastic.
The actual series is very low budget compared to the miniseries, but
the miniseries is great.
But yeah, Greenland, I honestly can't recommend enough. I was genuinely surprised at how good this film was.
I just thought I saw the trailer when it was first, and I thought, no, I'm not going to bother with that. And as I said, I saw that it was released yesterday, and I thought I was literally just about to watch something else, and I thought, okay, well, the thing I'm going to watch, which I will watch it anyway. I thought that's probably going to, after watching St. Maud and all that sort of stuff, I thought it won't be, I need something a little more
palate cleanser.
Yeah, something a bit more just sort of like watch things blow up. I thought, fuck it, it's going to be terrible, but I'll watch it anyway. And I was so surprised at how good it is.
Yeah.
It is not what I thought it was at all.
The trailer does this film zero justice.
No, absolutely not.
And I was only so keen to watch it because I'd heard such good things. And I was like, okay, like this is more than the trailer's letting on, clearly. And it really was. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, things do blow up.
Yes, there is. I mean, there are some really beautiful
in fact, most things blow up.
Most things blow up. Yeah. I mean, it's not a perfect movie. There are some seriously dodgy decisions going on in this movie.
Certainly there are.
Having said that, it's a really enjoyable movie. Like I said, it's an enjoyable movie. It's really good performances, and it's a nice and. I looked at the running time and thought, oh, this might be a bit of a stretch. I might be a bit. I
thought it was the right length when I watched it,
and I thought actually it shot by. It didn't drag or anything.
No.
There were quiet moments in the right time, and there was action in equal measured, and it was a thoroughly enjoyable movie. I actually would recommend this.
Yeah, and I think. You're right. There were some really silly decisions in this film and some really silly parts, but it's one of those things when the plot is strong enough and the characters are strong enough, and you want to see the characters succeed. You relate to the protagonists and you like the protagonists. Yeah, you can overlook all of that, and it's just one of those instances where it is just like, I'll just overlook that because I'm having. Such a good time.
I mean, I don't want to spoil anything. I don't want to.
No, I'm trying not to go into too much.
There's an escalation in a truck.
Yes,
that's all I'll say. Which I just thought could have been avoided by him doing one simple thing.
I thought the same. It felt very unnecessary. I was like, why are you doing this now?
He could have done one simple thing, and it would have been, it would have been fine. There would have been no escalation. No. But that's all I'll say on that point. That was one of the only parts of the movie where I genuinely thought, oh, this is a bit stupid.
I agree. It felt odd.
Yeah.
It felt odd and out of character, and I don't really understand his logic in that scene.
Not at that point, no.
Not at that. If that scene was earlier in the film, it would have been fine. Mm-hmm. But
it would have made more sense earlier. But the point it happens,
it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
That didn't need to happen.
No, but. In any case, yes, that was the big one for me actually as well. When you were saying silly moments, that was the one moment that I was like, and it's not even like it's a wonderful. It's a nice, wonderful scenes.
It's a really well done scene. It's a great actual scene, but it's
from a character perspective, you have to question how they let that happen or got into that situation.
Yeah.
But that aside, I absolutely loved this film. I thought it was really, really good, and I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Have you seen anything else?
No, that's pretty much it.
I'm glad you watched that. I was hoping you would have watched that one too, because I really enjoyed it. Good stuff. Did you see the trailer for Shin Ultraman?
I did.
Great, isn't it?
I thought it was fantastic.
I think it looks like it's probably got a smaller budget than Shin Godzilla had. The shots are quite a lot closer and tighter than Shin Godzilla, but I think it looks tremendous. Looks really good, and I like that they've just gone, we're going to go with the original, for the most part, original Ultraman look. We're not going to change it.
Yeah, I must
admit,
what
it is.
I was actually surprised that they hadn't over sort of engineered a new sort of Ultraman,
considering how, I mean, it's still the traditional Godzilla silhouette, but considering how much they changed Godzilla, and of course there is every chance that it could change in the movie when we watch it.
Yeah.
But in the trailer, it's like, oh no, that is Ultraman as we've, as we know him for the most part. I mean, the eye holes are missing, where the actor looks out of the suit, but presumably they weren't going to bother with that. I really like this trailer. I think I don't know any of the language, so I don't know what's going on, really. Nope. There's a lot of people saying and doing things. I'm like, I don't understand any of it, but it looks great.
There's a cool looking monster.
Yeah, two cool looking monsters.
Two cool looking monsters. So I'm completely on board.
I'm 100%. And I've heard that they have said that, if you were hoping for a Shin Godzilla sequel, this is as close to a sequel as you're going to get.
Yeah,
this is it. So
I think they were planning on a sequel, but I think they've shelved it since the American ones have taken off.
And obviously they've got the Netflix cartoon coming. And also, I just don't know that I want a sequel to Shin Godzilla. I love it just left where it is.
Well, it does lean itself. The end does lean into a potential sequel. So
it does, but I also like how do you know the original plan for Shin Godzilla? Because it's fucking mental.
I'm not sure I do.
So Shin Godzilla,
I'm sure we've talked about it, so I must have done, but I don't remember offhand.
He becomes the universe.
Oh, yes.
He just evolves to where he is an entire universe. Godzilla is the universe, and everything exists within Godzilla. And he gets real crazy and out there. But I love the way Shin Godzilla ends. I love the tail with the smaller Godzilla people coming off of the tail and stuff, and I just think he's better left ambiguous like that. It's like, what could have been, because obviously we've seen the 3 or 4 evolutions of Godzilla through that film, and it's like, that was going to be the next stage. He's never going to stop mutating to keep going,
like some sort of horrible Cronenbergian monster.
He really is in that film. He is, and I am hoping that Shin Ultraman deals with some body horror in the way that he is a man and an alien merged together, and he's got the power of an alien, but how does that change him, and what does that do to him? And that kind of stuff will be really interesting if they go into that, and I wouldn't be surprised given how tremendous Shin Godzilla was. I have all the faith in the world in this project, and I think it looks great. The trailer looks wonderful. Shamefully, I really like Ultraman. I've got a couple of seasons. I've got the original series of Ultraman back there, and I've got Ultraman Nexus.
I haven't seen because there's a Netflix cartoon as well, which I haven't seen.
It's not so great, unfortunately.
Which came out, I think, last year. Was it?
It's all right. It doesn't feel very Ultraman-like, but it's okay.
Right. Okay.
It's okay.
Well, I haven't seen any of the Ultraman stuff for donkey's years.
Sure. So I like tokusatsu in general, so I like Ultraman. I've got a few of the different shows. But when I'd heard about Shin Ultraman like 2 years ago, I think, something like that. I saw a thumbnail on a video with a picture of Ultraman there, and it was like, Shin Ultraman. And do you know what? I thought someone was just taking the piss. Or it was like a fan-made thing where they were like, let's just do Shin Ultraman because they've done Shin Godzilla. So I just ignored it for ages, and then this trailer came out last week, and I was like, oh my god, it's a real thing, and it looks amazing. I didn't know about it
until you said, so...
Yeah. I think YouTube just knows my love of that stuff now, so it just comes up. It's like, there it is.
Sometimes YouTube does do you proud.
Occasionally the algorithm does good, and that was one of those instances. But watch the trailer if you haven't. It is all in Japanese, and but it looks tremendous.
Yeah, I presume we're probably going to get a better trailer at some point.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, I think that I'm assuming it's going to be a Japan exclusive release, and then they'll probably look at the rest of the world later. So I guess we'll probably get a translated version sometime later. But yeah, I love that trailer. Have you watched any other trailers or anything? Anything interesting?
I don't know. No, not really. I've seen some of the cast list for the new Sandman TV series.
I think the cast list looks really promising.
Which so far I'm quite impressed with.
It's a strong cast.
I like Sanjeev Bhaskar as Kane. I like the idea that I've not seen him do full Madman, so it would be interesting to see how he pulls that off when he goes into one of his rages.
I think he's got potential.
So, and Ashim Chowdhury has got that sort of lovable face that I think would, acquits itself to Abel quite well. Yeah. So I'm quite happy with that. I think that's a great thing. And I do like the idea of Gwendolyn Christie as Lucifer.
I thought that was great casting, actually. When I saw that, I was like, no, I can really see that. I really can.
Because I think, a lot of people, I heard a lot of people on the internet lost their shit because they thought Gwendolyn Christie was replacing Tom... what's his face in the Lucifer TV series?
Very different. The Lucifer TV series. I unashamedly love the Lucifer TV series, but that is so fucking far away from the source material. It's not even funny.
Because I mean, the thing is it is the same character. It's based on the same character.
Yeah.
And I love the first sort of 2 seasons of that. It started getting ropey, and I haven't gone back to it.
Yeah, fair enough. But it is what it is. But it's
like his performance as Lucifer. It's like you said. It's not Sandman's Lucifer. It's not Neil Gaiman's Lucifer.
No.
But it is quite a good. It's a very entertaining show.
Yeah.
I mean, Lucifer. He based Lucifer on Bowie.
Yeah.
So I was kind of expecting something maybe like Tilda Swinton or, but I guess that would be very similar to her playing Gabriel in...
This is the problem. I think she's played too many of those characters now to where it's like she's the obvious choice. Yeah, she's the obvious choice now.
But I think Gwendolyn Christie is just androgynous enough to pull off that really well, I think.
I think the casting's tremendous.
She certainly has a great presence, so...
Sandman for me is kind of like Akira, where I've long maintained that it's unfilmable and I just don't see how they're going to do it. But the cast here is giving me hope, serious hope for this show.
You've got Charles Dance as Roderick Burgess, which is another completely fantastic choice.
Yeah,
and you've got Boyd Halbrook as the Corinthian. So Boyd Halbrook was the last thing I think I saw him in was Logan, where he played Pierce, the guy with the bionic arm.
Yes,
basically the bad guy,
the asshole of the film.
Yeah, and he's been in some really good things actually. He's actually a pretty good actor. So, and I think he looks like the how I imagine the Corinthian would look.
This is the thing with a lot of this casting. It's like, yeah, I can see that. Like each cast member, I was like, yeah, I can see that working.
Tom Stutteridge, who is playing the Sandman, is someone I haven't actually seen before. I don't think.
No.
Oh no, he was in The Boat That Rocked, so I probably have seen him, but I don't.
Okay.
No, he's not. He's not an actor that I know. So he was in the Velvet Buzzsaw, which I still haven't got round to watching actually.
But he certainly has the look, and I think he could.
Yeah, I think he could. He certainly has the look. How well he pulls off the stern demeanor of the Sandman is gonna be interesting to see. But I'm really hopeful for this series. I mean, it's they've race and gender swapped Lucian. But to be honest, Lucian is quite a minor part, so it's not really an issue, I don't think.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me too much. If it's well written and it's well done,
The rumor is that Taron Egerton is going to be playing Constantine.
Oh, okay.
Because he voiced Constantine in the Audible Sandman that was recently released.
Right, I've not listened to that.
No, I haven't, and I keep meaning to. That has got a fantastic cast. That is Kat Dennings is Death. It's Reginald G. Hunter is the Martian Manhunter. Josie Lawrence is Mad Hetty. It's Miriam Margolyes is Despair. James McAvoy is the Sandman. Samantha Morton.
Sounds great.
Andy Serkis is Matthew.
Wow.
Michael Sheen is Lucifer.
I love Michael Sheen is just...
Yeah, so and I still haven't got around to because I don't have an Audible account. So
I have an Audible account, and
I've really got to get that.
I did have a membership at one point. If you listen to a lot of audiobooks, it's probably worth the membership. When the pandemic happened, I started working from home all the time. I did have an account. I had a membership for a while, just because you get like 1 or 2 books free every month, and it was like, you know, when I'm sat here working, I like to have things on in the background like music or something like that.
Yeah, it might be a good idea just to get that as your free one sort of thing.
Well, that's the thing. It kind of, if you're going to buy, it's probably worth doing a month and getting your one free book, because those books are really expensive. Like Audible books are like, you know, 20-30 quid sometimes. You can get one for free if you just sign up, and it's like £7-8 a month or something. It's like, well, you know, it kind of pays for itself if you're going to use it. But that's a tremendous cast. But yeah, I'm really excited for this this Sandman. I mean, Netflix show.
The thing is that Gamer's always said that he wouldn't sort of release anything unless it was a true adaptation.
Yes.
Now, obviously, he's obviously gone back a little on that because, you know, obviously people have been race swapped and gender swapped and things like that. So you're going to get, but in this day and age, you're going to get that anyway.
Well, and also he's obviously happy
the way
with
it
it.
Is.
So,
and he must be. And the thing is people say, oh, it's going to be woke, and that's it. The thing is
I don't think it can be.
Clearly haven't read the Sandman.
I don't think it
because
can
the
be.
Sandman is one of the. Yeah, but the Sandman was woke anyway. It has gay characters in it.
Of course
it's got transgender characters in it. It's. I mean, you know, Roderick Burgess is a gay man in the first story. It's already has.
Yeah, it's already got representation.
Exactly,
for sure.
And it doesn't. You know, it doesn't boast about those things as a. You know, as it's that's
thing.
All it's about,
and that's kind of what I was trying to say, is that I don't think it will be quote unquote woke, or what you would, you know, what woke is kind of assumed to be now.
Using
like
its message,
it's not going to be forced down your throat, and it's not going to be, you know, contrived in that way.
Yeah,
it's very well written and diverse and represented to begin with, so it's fine.
I mean, it lends itself to that. It's perfect for that sort of thing, and it's the Sandman is genuinely my favorite comic. The whole run is
it's great,
just stunning. The stories that are told in that run are amazing. That, you know, that it goes everywhere from, you know, serial killers to Shakespeare, to immortality, to questions about life, and it's just so good, so brilliant. I've wanted a faithful adaptation for, you know, since the 90s basically.
Yeah,
but like you said, I think it is one of those things where, you know, it's like V or Akira. It's a hard thing to adapt.
Yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic having seen this cast. I think there's definite potential there.
Yeah.
But we shall see. We shall see. So, have you got a film in mind for next time?
I've been racking my brains. I haven't picked anything yet.
Okay. Something will come along. It always does.
So yeah, I think we'll
have a think.
We'll have a think, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a comedy or something, maybe. Because we haven't really done any comedies.
No, it's difficult with comedies because they're either funny or they're not, and that's kind of where comedies are like the hardest film to make, aren't they? Because if it's not funny, it's just fucked. Okay,
but it's all to do with it with sense of humor. I think that's the thing is what your sense of humor.
Yeah.
There's one. I think there's one in particular I've got in mind, but I'm not going to say because I don't know if I'm going to choose it. I might choose something entirely different. And not go for horror. Not go for comedy. I just think we've gone for we've had horror. Let's choose something else.
We've done horror, and we've done a lot of sci-fi, and you know, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. Cool. Well, I guess the takeaway is watch Greenland, watch Saint Maud. And yes, thank you for listening, everybody, and we shall catch you next time.
Bye.